Hey guys, I'm gonna have a more thorough video or more videos on this topic. I just wanted to kind of start talking about it a little bit. I feel it's very important because it really, really shows that before the Great Flood, there was a lot going on this planet. A lot. We were very advanced. Now, when I'm saying very advanced, I'm not necessarily saying compared to right now, currently 2016, but I'm saying we were very advanced just in general. Like if you look back the past centuries, before the flood, we were really advanced. The stuff we had back then could easily compare with what we have now. In some areas, maybe we weren't quite as iPhone sophisticated, but in other areas, we were further ahead. Now, the Great Flood knocked the crap out of us, and we had to restart once again. We had to restart once again. It's not the first time that that's happened. The resetting of events. The reason so many of us were fearful and freaked out about Y2K and the end of the Mayan calendar in 2012 is because deep down inside, through past life history, through our DNA itself, remembering that our civilization almost got wiped out completely by a global catastrophe. Chicken Little, the sky is falling, the world's coming to an end. Yes. So we've been traumatized by those events as a species, humanity as a whole. But yeah, as you can see up there, up right here, the Egyptians, the Mayans, very similar. Again, I'm just going to show you a couple things today. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to these cultures. But the ancient Egyptians and the ancient Mayans, the Mayan calendar, very sophisticated. They could tell using their calendar and their ability to keep track of things, they knew when there was going to be solar eclipses. They could predict solar eclipses centuries ahead of time. The Egyptian calendar, some similarities. I don't have enough information to get into fine detail on the differences, but I just want you to, as just as a whole, as a big picture, just kind of just try to feel or to observe, get an impression, use your instincts, and try and tell how there's a connection between these two cultures, and it has to do with the very fact that those two cultures, the Mayan Indians, the ancient Egyptians, they were survivors. Their descendants from an earlier time period, from the before the flood civilizations. Before the flood, there was a lot of awesome stuff going on. Some bad stuff too, but a lot of awesome stuff for a long time. And when the flood wiped us out almost, the survivors had to rebuild. And in Egypt and in South and Central America, the Mayans, Aztecs, the Egyptians, Celtics, Druids, Native Americans, later the Greeks, these cultures were picking up the pieces. They all share a common origin. The civilizations that were around before the flood rocked this world. Hieroglyphics. These would be Egyptian hieroglyphics. The Mayans also had their own version of hieroglyphics. They're like brothers or sisters when it comes to, as an analogy for civilization, actually, literally, too. They carried on. These two civilizations had a common origin. No question about it. If you want to learn a lot about this, one thing I can tell you personally is there's a book called Fingerprints of the Gods. It's a really big, thick book, lots of good info. I read it a long time ago, actually. Very interesting. But yes, before the flood, there was a relatively advanced human civilization on this planet Earth. After the flood, we had to start over, but not from square one because there was lots of knowledge retained. Another thing. Now, in future videos, I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna be much more thorough. There's a lot to say about this, and it's important stuff. But the Egyptian pyramids, the Great Pyramids in Giza, the Giza Plateau, and the three pyramids, the Great Pyramid. Those pyramids are known as the oldest in Egypt. Why the hell are they so well preserved? If the pyramids that were built in later centuries are far more deteriorated and more crumbled down than the older ones, because over time, after generation, they were forgetting the knowledge. They were becoming less sharp with their skills when it came to remembering the old ways. Just after the flood, those first few generations of descendants, they had so much knowledge. Their parents, their grandparents, their great grandparents lived in that golden age before the flood, and that knowledge was shared and was readily available. And over time, that expertise became more and more mythical. It became mythology. Something to think about.